Today I'm going to talk about Nietzsche and how his ideas relate to Dostoevsky's Brothers Karamazov. Everybody knows that Nietzsche said God is dead. For some people this sounds like a pretty bleak statement, but for Nietzsche it's a good thing. Now that God is gone, he argues, people can free themselves from Christianity's concepts of good and evil, which he believes are false, and create a new moral system which will allow them to realize their full potential. In Brothers Karamazov, Mitya, who has been accused of murdering his father, gets into a theological debate with a journalist who is visiting him in jail. Mitya tells the journalist, if there is no God, then everything is permitted. For Mitya, everything is permitted as a negative outcome of there being no God. People are free to steal, kill, rape, and generally do whatever they like. It's the existence of God that gives morality its authority. Without a fear of God, people will not be able to resist giving into temptations of lust, violence, and greed. For Nietzsche, everything is permitted as a positive outcome of there being no God. No God, no more good and evil as we know it. Nietzsche believes that Christianity is a slave morality. Slave morality, he argues, is a reaction to master morality. Values of the master that are considered good, nobility, pride, and vitality, are viewed as evil in the slave morality. Nietzsche feels this is due to the slave's jealousy and hatred of the master. So in reaction, the slave creates a morality that values charity, pity, and humility. What is judged good or bad in master morality is based on consequences of actions, while in slave morality it's based on intent of actions. An example of master morality would be if a king starts a war, innocent people will be killed. But if the war results in greater peace, then it is good, or as Nietzsche would say, noble. In slave morality, an actor would not start a war because the mere intention of doing so would be evil, because innocent people would be killed. Nietzsche argues that Christianity is a slave morality created in reaction to the Christians' masters, the Romans. It seems convenient that Nietzsche, being from the ruling class, should argue every enhancement of the type man has so far been the work of an aristocratic society. Nietzsche implies that the aristocrats, abiding by master morality, have elevated man to a level he could not have attained if he were concerned with the plight of the less fortunate. In Brothers Karamazov, the priest Zosima seems to struggle to reconcile Christianity's promise of the meek inheriting the earth with widely accepted ideas that land-owning Russians are inherently superior to their serfs. Russia is great in her humility, he exclaims. It will come to pass, even the rich will be ashamed of their wealth before the poor, while the poor, seeing this humility, will understand it and grant them their advantages and respond with joy and love to the dignified shame of the rich. Equality lies in human moral dignity. Let there be brothers first, then there will be brotherhood. Only then will there be fair sharing of goods amongst brothers. The Nietzsche interpretation here is Zosima is hopeful that the rich will abandon their master values. The Nietzschean interpretation here is Zosima is hopeful that the rich will abandon their master values of pride and ambition and instead adopt Christian values of charity and humility. Interestingly, he places the responsibility for change upon the rich, not the poor. The serf's moral system, he implies, cannot allow them to change their lot in life. The most famous scene in Brothers Karamazov is Ivan Karamazov's recital of a poem he wrote called The Inquisitor. In this poem, Christ returns from heaven, arriving at the city of Seville during the Spanish Inquisition. After observing a heretic being tortured in the town square, Christ is discovered by the crowd, causing elation and requests for miracles. He is arrested by the Grand Inquisitor and placed in captivity where he is cross-examined. The Inquisitor explains to Christ that he was once his most ardent follower, but he's become disillusioned with his teachings and has since led the way in developing a new interpretation of Christianity, which he believes bodes better for the well-being of man. Rather than emphasize Christ's true message to men, that with the knowledge of good and evil, they have the freedom to choose whether they sin or not, the Catholic Church would instead give out pardons for every sin, relieving men of the burden of their responsibility to choose, but unbeknownst to them, sentencing them to an eternity in hell. He justifies these actions by arguing it's the only way to maintain order in society. He claims that men, who he feels are morally weak, unintelligent, and essentially slaves, were given that freedom of choice for a period of time, and that there was nothing but chaos and war. The Inquisitor's rationale for the Church's actions, like master morality, makes judgments based on the consequences of actions rather than the intent. While many will be damned to hell, it's necessary for the peace and stability on earth. His words imply that Christian morality, which judges what is good or bad based on the individual's intent, is too great a burden for the average man to handle because he's not strong enough to make the right choice. What do you think? What is attractive about master and slave morality, and what is problematic? Is a society governed by master morality or slave morality viable? Thanks for watching.